And I'm your town crier, Winston Wright, bringing you up to date on what is going on in Jamaica, crying out for the various wrongs and giving you the UIC solution. As usual, thank you for spending your Friday morning with me. It is absolutely great, as usual, being here with you. Just want to take the time to say if you're not already part of our social media family, join us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and of course, UIC Liberty TV on Facebook. So join the growing throng that is a part of the UIC movement. Soon, we will be a force to be reckoned with. We continue fighting for justice for Jamaicans to bring you information, knowledge that the political elite has kept from you for all this time, in the hopes of bringing a greater Jamaica with the vision of making UIC the government of the day, which is for the people and will be by the people. So go ahead, like our social media pages, whichever one you're on, subscribe to our channel on Facebook, and share as much content as you can so we can make as much people as we can. Now, this morning I want to talk to you about corruption, not in the usual sense. What I want to talk to you about is how the world sees us. There is a group in the world called Transparency International. And this NGO, non governmental organization, non affiliated, these seem to be non affiliated group. I'll be honest and say I don't know where they originate. I can do more research on it, but they rank 180 countries in the world as to what is perceived corruption level. In those countries, 180 countries they have ranked. And their latest ranking for 2020, after the year's ended, for 2020, Jamaica ranks 69 out of 180 countries and fifth in the Caribbean. We had a score of 44 out of 100 in the 2020 ranking. And interestingly, in 2019, we were 43 out of 100 in terms of our score. Jamaica ranked 74 out of 180 countries. So in 2019, our score moved up 5 points from the year before. This year, we moved up 1 point. So, yeah, sorry, let me correct that. In 2012, our score moved, sorry, in 2019, our score moved 5 places from 2012. That's correct. 5 places from 2012. And in 2020, we're up 1 place. So we now move 6 places since 2012. So in 2020, Jamaica is ranked 69 out of 180 countries that have been looked at in terms of perceived corruption. Now, everybody's gonna say, why we are losing so Jamaica State? And that's what I've been lamenting ever since I started this program. Saying I'm not a corrupt person. I don't want to live in a country that the world and as being corrupt. And this is saying that the world see us as the 69th most corrupt place in the world. Well, 180 countries in the world anyway. Now imagine there's no war. There's no, well, I won't say no dictatorship because there's one emerging, but there's no war, there's no civil strife, just criminality. And we are 69th and 50th in the Caribbean. Imagine Jamaica that believes and oozes and gives the impression that we're open and transparent place is ranked 69th in the world and 50th in the Caribbean in terms of corruption. When I live here, so we know what's going on. But guess what? Apparently, our justice minister isn't from Jamaica. Yes, Mr. Delroy Chuck isn't from Jamaica because he's surprised that our score is so low. And guess what? Our, our foreign affairs minister, apparently, and senator, apparently she's not from Jamaica either. She lives somewhere else because she's celebrating that 1 point improvement. 1 point. Now, if you go to an exam and you barely pass, as a matter of fact, you didn't even pass, you sat the exam twice, and each time you only got 1 point difference. Boy, I don't even think you would have word to describe how angry you'd be at yourself. But our foreign affairs minister thinks it's something to celebrate. Now, the 69th in corruption is celebrated. Explain that to me. He said that something is wrong with our politicians. Now, they're living for the day, and they want to give us the impression that they're doing something about what is going on. The corruption that they created through this bureaucracy and this farce of a constitution that they have adopted from our enslavers. And they pretend to be doing something about it, and they pretend very well by celebrating a 1 point score improvement and pretending that because they have created an agency called Integrity Commission and made it catch rich with $1 billion, that solves all the other problems. Solve the problems in the Hanover Municipal Council, where the Auditor General said that the contracts were deliberately fragmented to circumvent procurement guidelines. Now, you hear what they say? The appearance of impropriety is just as bad as. So if you're deliberately breaking up a contract into smaller increments, doesn't that say there's something to hide? And if you do that as a government official, doesn't it question your integrity and your action on behalf of the people? But yet you're still in office. Because as I've said before, you don't have the authority to recall the people you elect. As a matter of fact, if you check out our UIC brother, our fellow Uniter, Mr. Devon Thompson, Vice President for Middlesex, he has a lovely program, initiative that tells you what goes on in our constitution. Check him out. Right? And just to add, our President, Mr. Joseph Patterson, money doctor, will be talking to you about how our economy is managed. Check him out as well. Right? But when you can't recall your servant, your employee, when you can't fire them, it means that they're not your employee. And when you look at deepening corruption that is going on, and I touch not the nice ones. I won't go to CMU because I guess everybody's tired of hearing about the billions that were stolen from the CMU and what has not been found or reclaimed or clawed back. So let's talk about some others. Let's talk about JCBC, where it was alleged in an Auditor General report that among the matters, as a matter of fact, let me read an excerpt from something for you. Among the matters highlighted in the audit was employment of a particular individual who is a close associate of the minister with responsibility for that agency, to a position which had duties already being performed by another member of staff. Doesn't that sound like corruption to you? So how come the justice minister is surprised? How comes the foreign affairs minister is celebrating? Says they are morally bankrupt, doesn't it? Say they have no right to talk, they're complicit in the level of corruption that is going on, doesn't it? Okay, you and I know better. Again, we're not corrupt people, and we don't want to live in a corrupt place, and we want the world, i.e., Transparency International, that is looking on to say Jamaica is a very transparent place, right? Where contracts are deliberately fragmented to circumvent procurement guidelines, okay? Where ministers' close friends aren't given jobs that they don't need to be employed to do, right? But anyway, let's continue. There are also concerns over contracts payment before work completion. You're taking your money, my money, her money, your kid's money, your brother, your neighbor, and then pay it out to their associate for work that hasn't been completed as yet. So how would you hold them responsible for work is shoddy or hasn't been completed? Smacks of a lack of common sense. But I know these people aren't stupid. So if it's not incompetence and ineptitude, then what must it be? Corruption. So how come the justice minister surprised? How comes the justice minister is surprised? How comes our foreign affairs minister is applauding, celebrating a 1 point improvement in our score because they created one government agency to fight corruption, gave it $1 billion, and that agency is still toothless and has not brought anybody to books as yet. When you look at the Auditor General report, the various reports that she has tabled, and all the things that have gone wrong, the JUTC, for example, deliberately ignored her recommendations and requests for reports, and then they're telling us some hogwash story that they sent it and it went to the wrong person. These people have been in the job long enough and should know. Hold on. But there was an issue with the JUTC as well. where they said they have been hiring people who are tons of people who are unqualified for the work and who are associates of different political figures. So then it is incompetence then. Incompetence and corruption. So what are you doing about that waste? Let me share a figure with you. The JUTC 2017-2018 fiscal year lost $7.2 billion, billion Jamaican dollars. The road in the eastern end of the island that is being built. You know what that money could have done to get that road completed by now? This quote unquote COVID fight that is devastating the economy that people need relief from. You know what that $7.2 billion could have done? Hmm? Because they use the money to rent car. Yes, rent car for people. Wouldn't it be cheaper they buy a car? Or better yet, does that person have a car though? Are they getting paid? And they using your money in such foolish. Let me tell you what was said about that. Right? Performance review of the state-owned Jamaica Urban Transit Company by the Office of the Auditor General has uncovered a free-for-all costing Jamaican taxpayers billions of dollars with no oversight by the parent ministry. Free-for-all. Imagine that. We are Jamaicans, so we do a free-for-all mean. Everybody willy-nilly, in the kitty. Now, what are we going to do about that? You can see how it go. If you notice when the figures are quoted, they're not quoted in thousands, you know, it's hundreds of millions and billions. So tell me, brothers and sisters, do you want a government that is not responsive to you in office? Thieving, stealing, squandering, misspending, misrepresenting by the billions, and your life keep getting worse successively day after day? Don't you want relief? Don't you want that $7.2 billion or that $3.3 billion to do something for the country, for education, for example, where our kids are reeling? Our kids are reeling because they can't go to school. They have no tablets, no internet access, nothing. And yet, we're going to sit back and let a government that does not feel that it's beholding onto you, it can unleash its police powers on you at any time, violate your constitutional rights at any time, and offices that are beholden onto them, like the office of the public defender, sit and do nothing. Is that what you want? So no, I've yelled, I've screamed, the town crier is crying, and I'm asking you, what are you willing to do about it? When are you going to walk to make the difference? When are we going to stop being uptown and downtown and be Jamaicans? We're all feeling this together, whether you're rich or not. I understand how devaluation works. And if you're rich, your wealth diminish each time one dollar diminish. And yes, you can hedge in other markets as much as you want. But understand this, they have their economic problems. And if you're losing here and losing there, eventually you will become poor. It is in your best interest to join with every other well-thinking, well-reasoned Jamaican and say, we need a change. We need to try the UIC way, where good governance, a government representative of the people, by the people, for the people, which is not a fallacy, is to be installed. And if you're downtown, isn't it time you stop seeing gutters filled with stagnant wastewater, zinc fence, broken potholes, broken home, kids that are uncared for? Last night, I hear a heartbreaking story of a mother who lost her three kids because she had been leaving them home alone to go to work. Aren't we tired of that? Don't we need a system where parents can care for their kids responsibly, and those who choose not to are taken to books, and those who don't have the means to are given the means, not given freeness, which isn't really free, because guess what? This money that is stolen, mismanaged, it eventually gets funneled back into people's campaign, which they use to say, let me give you a thing so you can vote for me, and that thing only lasts. Give a man a fish, you feed him only for a day. The UIC will teach you to fish and feed you for life. They're not interested in handing out to you every day on the day. but make you stand as a man, a proud Jamaican, stand as a woman, a proud Jamaican woman with a proud heritage, and provide for your family. And we know that the system that has evolved from the plantocracy and continues to be representative of the plantocracy and the divisive nature by which this country was formed will be brought down and the fees lay level for all to play where opportunities are available for all. If you don't believe me, check out our website, UICJamaica.com. It's written there. The development plan is coming shortly. You will see it there. Where we give no special privilege to anyone. The government of the UIC will not be a gatekeeper for anyone, but will give opportunity to all. Remember. But we continue. So the day UTC is a free for all, everybody in the kitty. And they protected. You think that, man? No. You don't come to the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. Yes, Social Security. You remember that mother I just spoke about and lost her kids? She could use some Social Security. But guess what? They lost $3.3 billion. $3.3 billion. Now, couldn't that mother use some of that money? Or whose pocket has that $3.3 billion gone into? Who benefited from that? There needs to be a thorough investigation. A person needs to go to jail. This is where the Integrity Commission comes in. This is where the Office of the Public Defender comes in. This is where the Auditor General goes further than saying the money is missing and point out who needs to pay back that money. Public can't be losing money left, right, and center. CMU, JUTC, JCDC, every government agency and parish council is being ripped apart. The books are being shredded. The coffers are being raided by these modern day pirates. And there's no recourse, no reclaim. The money just disappears and they leave office and then get another government cushy job because they're affiliated and they can funnel back this money. No, people. It should never end like that. It should never end like that. The constant wastage of people's money demands better governance. If you run your house's finance like the country is being run, you'll be on the streets in no time. And this country is your house. So why are you allowing it to be run like that? Hold these people accountable, and holding them accountable starts by removing them from office. Right? As a matter of fact, I say this here and now unequivocally. It is time for a mass movement to start demanding the resignation of every single member of this cabinet, and all career politicians need to face the courts. UIC has said that it will have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission on crime, if and when it forms a government where persons who are so complicit in crimes of any kind, whether it be guns and illegal downship and gunmanship to secure votes and hold political office, or corruption of any kind, and be able to confess, show us how these schemes work, have the people realize what is happening and receive absolution. And those who don't will face the courts. Our president has said it. All these corrupt politicians will face the law, and that is why they don't want the UIC government. But people, do it for your kids. It's time. You see the dictatorship that is evolving. You see it. A dictatorship is a government that abuses its power, uses state power for policing its citizens in a corrupt and immoral and abusive way. We see the corruption, we see the immorality, and of course we see them locking up youths without trial, claiming that they are a danger, when it is the theft of these money that is preventing them from putting a justice system in place that allows justice to prevail for all. If justice can prevail for all, then you know you have a problem. And we do have a problem, and we're asking them to fix it. They who created the problem. They who are part of the establishment that supports the system because it creates the exclusivity that allows them to be thieving. We don't need a Jamaica. Our motto didn't say exception for some. Our motto said out of many, one. Which means that at this point we are one people, but we are not, because there's an uptown and a downtown and a political class. Every great civilization that has flourished since the dawn of time, since The domestication of animals and the beginning of trade has relied on education to pass on knowledge that builds that society. Right now, after 75 years of forming a nation, we are yet to get to this stage where our teachers and our educational institutions are functional because our political classes choose to elevate themselves above all else, above the teachers, the foundation of our society, and therefore has chosen to keep the majority of us ignorant and ill-equipped to face the world because they want to use and abuse us in this very manner. And you know it, but you say you don't know what to do. So the UIC and I are telling you what to do. This town crier is crying out, telling you that it's time for a change, and the change is simply this: elect government that is not of the elitist class, and then set them to work for you. If you don't believe me, try it. What do you have to lose? The cycle is 4 years, and you have already had well over 75 years of them for nothing. So you won't, 4 years won't matter, will it? But that is not our cry. That is not our claim to fame, and that is not our drive to get into office. Our drive to get into office is to create a constitution that is truly reflective of the Jamaican reality and where we need to go as a people, and totally remove the vestige of colonialism from our present day system, recognize it as our past, and look at it to make sure that it guides and informs us, but it does not constrain us. That is what UIC will do for Jamaica, to create a clean, orderly society where everyone can work and enjoy equal protection of life and property under the law, and most importantly, retire with dignity in a clean, orderly society. That's simple and straightforward. And we're not going to give you voodoo maths and rocket science to do it. We have studied them for 75 years. Collectively, we have all, as a UIC, the Uniters, have looked at what is happening and realized that if we create a new constitution that takes away the inordinate power that these elitists hold and use against us in an unholy way, if we manage the finances of the country in a responsible way, and most importantly, look at how people live and give each one true access to the opportunities that exist, instead of blocking the small man or those who don't contribute to our campaigns, we will reach far. I tell you what, if you don't want UIC and you want to have a tribal two-party system, I can understand that. But it has not served you. But make sure they adapt what we have said and see Jamaica prosper. UIC policy is not for us, it's for the country. We don't care who brings it to fruition. We know they don't have the guts to do it because they are vested in self-enrichment. Look at it. Look at how many persons have abandoned their career to go into politics and have now created dynasties. They're bringing in their sons and their wives now. Create family dynasties of thieves. So, that's what you want. Few enrich themselves at our expense perpetually with our tax dollars. Now they're talking about new taxes. But this $3.3 billion could have done something. That lady that lost her kids, she could have used some. Okay? When you look back at the JCDC, there are pensioners that couldn't get paid. That money should have been to pay them. I know of countries where if you are injured, they have a national insurance scheme, and if you are injured and aren't able to work, the national insurance scheme pays you cash benefit to support yourself until you're able to work. In Jamaica, the only person that gets benefit properly from our national insurance scheme is the government when they raid it. All our statutory bodies are so beholden unto the government that they constantly give away what is ours. Right now, we're living in a dictatorship by design. We only call it a democracy, but all we're doing is trading one thief for another. The Auditor General's ineffectiveness in getting these bodies recognize good financial management, good fiscal management, OPD lack of willpower to bring these persons to court is telling tale. And the Director of Public Prosecution's allegiance to the government of the day shows how much we have lost and the kind of dictatorship that we have created. This is a corrupt, corruptible, and corrupting dictatorship. And as Sister Janet, a uniter, likes to say, this Congress has the cure for the corruption. And we do. And we say to you, join the discussion on our social media pages. Join the discussion in the various forums. The money doctor or President Mr. Joseph Patterson, as I said, will be telling you how they rob us blind with deficit spending, hyperinflation, and other monetary fiscal phenomena that they concoct to tell you that the country is doing good or bad. But really, truly, it's just a matter of simple fiscal control. Uniter, Brother Devon, will look through his initiative program and what is happening and what we need to do to fix it. And I'm just here crying out, telling you what is wrong and how the UIC will fix it. So this government waste will end. And not because the UIC has a miracle cure. We do have a cure for the corruption. But because we have the willpower, we know what needs to be done, and we are not complicit in what has happened over the past 75 years. We are the new kid on the block, unstained and unblemished by anything that has happened. All we want to do is bring that level of prosperity that Jamaicans deserve. We stand ready to do it. And you need to recognize if you haven't. But lots of people have recognized. Yes, over close to 9,000 people that are active on our social media pages. And we have other affiliates all over the world, the diaspora especially. And we welcome everyone. I just want to give a shout out to persons like Joe P, always active with us, sharing his knowledge. Definitely, as somebody you should listen to. Maroon X, always glad to have you with us, brother. Kevin, always looking out for the UIC. We love the energy that you bring and your guys' support. We enjoy every minute of it, and we thank you for that. Okay? We have persons like Sister Natalie and other UIC officers who are here with us. Just want to say to newcomers to the movement, we are here with you, and as our various programs go through, or newsletters, etc., you'll be informed as to the things that we do to make sure that Jamaicans are kept abreast of what is going on. Come tomorrow, our access to information request to the Justice Ministry, to the Attorney General Chamber, becomes due. Yes, they ask for a 30-day extension which expires tomorrow, where the Attorney General is obligated under law to tell us how much money they have cost us by virtue of them violating people's constitutional right, Jamaicans' constitutional right, by showing, as usual, what we expect from them, being the police state that they're evolving into. Violate person's constitutional right and have to pay for it. And I say to you, you don't have to stand for it. There is a legal recourse, and you don't have to kill your brothers and kill your sisters. Recognize that the system pits us against each other, and it's a system that was created from the day they had a yoke around our neck and the whips at our backs. And it's time our youths recognize that you're creating a cycle of violence to keep us afraid and keep themselves relevant. Crime is their new strategy to be relevant. Okay? They lie to us when they tell us that they want to liberate us. No such thing. They want to enrich themselves and their families and their friends. It's a cycle of corruption and thievery. Recognize, put down your guns, turn it not on your neighbor. Stand up, demand a job, demand proper representation, demand better education for your children and your relatives. And it takes a social movement to do it, not a criminal enterprise. So I'm saying to you, my brother, you don't need to. We see how they are. Persons lobbied for the legalization of cannabis. And then they create a system that you need millions of dollars to get a license that puts the small man out of the business, when they could have simply created a system where the small man forms a cooperative to be a part of the bigger picture. They're not idiots. They're not incompetent. I keep telling you that they're just corrupt. They're holding on to big business that gives them 17, 15, 5, and $10 million for their political campaign every 4 years. And they lie to you and give you $500 or $5,000. And then what? You suffer for the next 4 years, and then you swap that person for somebody else who does the same thing. End that vicious cycle. End it. UIC will help you end it. Talk to us. I'm not saying that you should become a member overnight. I'm not saying you should pledge your fealty to the UIC overnight. I'm saying look at what we have to offer and then make an educated decision, an informed decision. An educated there is a telling word, because they no longer teach civics in primary and high school. They no longer teach Jamaican history, don't teach about the courts, petty session courts, magistrate courts, supreme courts, none of those things. Because they want you to be ignorant and for you to believe that the court system, the justice system is the domain of a privileged few lawyers in white shirts. That's not true. So I'm saying to you, let's turn this thing around without them, since they're not interested in making us better. Instead, they're dragging us down. They're creating a system where dogs eat dogs. Dogs. My fellow uniters, fellow Jamaicans, there's a lot more to talk about, but please join the discussion on social media. Our Facebook page is very active. Thousands of members there hanging out, talking, and we take inspiration and drive guidance from you every day. So join us on all our social media platforms. Join the movement. We look forward to having you, hearing your voice as we work towards the next 4 years where the UIC will stand up to represent you. And on that very important day, we look forward to seeing you at the polls where you will vote for the UIC so we can bring that change. We have the will to do it. UIC is here for you. We are the cure for the corruption. Uniters, have a great day. Thanks for spending your Friday with me. Like, share, subscribe.